We're going to stand, face Jerusalem, and open up. Our Father which art in heaven,
our Father which art in heaven,
hallowed be thy name.
Hallowed be thy name.
Thy kingdom come,
thy kingdom come,
thy will be done in earth,
thy will be done in earth,
as it is in heaven.
as it is in heaven.
Give us this day our daily bread.
Give us this day our daily bread,
And forgive us our debts,
and forgive us our debts,
as we forgive our debtors.
as we forgive our debtors.
And lead us not into temptation,
And lead us not into temptation,
but deliver us from evil.
but deliver us from evil.
For thine is the kingdom,
For thine is the kingdom,
and the power,
and the power,
and the glory,
and the glory,
forever.
forever.
Praise the Lord.
Praise the Lord.
For he is good.
For he is good,
For his mercy endureth forever.
for his mercy endures forever.
Praise the Lord God of Israel.
Praise the Lord God of
For
Israel,
he is good.
for he is good,
For his mercy endureth forever.
for his mercy endures forever.
Lord of lords,
Lord of lords,
King of kings,
King of kings,
the mighty one of Jacob,
the mighty one of Jacob,
and there is no other.
there is no other.
In Jesus' mighty name we pray.
In Jesus' mighty name we pray.
Amen.
Amen.
Today's scripture reading is Psalms 136, 1 through 7. Oh, give thanks unto the Lord, for he is good, for his mercy endureth forever. Oh, give thanks unto the God of gods, for his mercy endureth forever. Oh, give thanks to the Lord of lords, for his mercy endureth forever. To him who alone doeth great wonders, for his mercy endureth forever. To him that by wisdom made the heavens, for his mercy endureth forever. To him that stretcheth out the earth above the waters, for his mercy endureth forever. To him that made the great lights, for his mercy endureth forever. May the Lord bless the reading, hearing, and doing of his word. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Yes, sir. We're going to have a selection or two by the sisters.
Seasons come and then they go, but all you established shall hold fast on none that we can rest assured. And beyond imagination, every promise you have given me will come true. I see you so sovereign. You are the only God, so wise. In your hands you hold my times. I can hold you to your word. You're never wavering. You won't turn. For I'm sure I know you are the promise keeper. Exceeding all of my expectation, I find myself believing you with no hesitation. 'Cause you've proven to me you're awesome. I can clearly see my life is yours. El Shaddai, I see you so sovereign. You are the only God, so wise. In your hands you hold my times. I can hold you to your words. You're never wavering. You won't turn. For I'm sure you are the promise keeper. The heaven and earth will pass away, yeah. Before one word you speak will ever fade. Promise keeper, promise keeper, promise keeper. I can hold you to your word. You're never wavering. You won't turn. For I am sure you are the promise keeper. All right, promise keeper. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right. Praise the Lord. Let's give the sisters another round of applause. I'd say those two have been doing an outstanding, magnificent job. I really appreciate that. Good job. First, I want to say praise the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Peace to everyone that's here, physical and spiritual Israel, as well as those who may be viewing live on Facebook or YouTube, wherever you may be viewing from. Peace to you as well. As always, it is an absolute pleasure to stand before you here on the Lord's Sabbath day. And it is always a blessing whenever I get a chance to stand up here and try and deliver the Lord's word to you. As always, ask a blessing for this lesson. And we hope that these words be the Lord's words and not my own, and that the message be well received. Today's lesson is a basic lesson. It's an easy lesson, but it's a lesson that's much needed in Israel from time to time. It's something we got to revisit and go back to time and time again, because there's something wrong with Israel. We tend to forget things quickly. And the title of this lesson is Humble Yourselves Before God and Men. Humble yourselves before God and men. And sometimes this can be one of them lessons where, it's one of them topics that Israel likes to avoid. It's one of the things that we don't like to talk about much, because it's a hard thing to humble ourselves. It's a hard thing to admit that we need to humble ourselves. You know, we always like to think of ourselves in the best light possible, but sometimes, you know, it may take someone else to bring to our attention that we need to humble ourselves. So this can sometimes be an unpleasant topic, but like I said, it's much needed, and something that you can't necessarily get around. So without further ado, let's get into it. Humble yourselves before God and men. Let's start this thing off in Hebrews 5. Hebrews 5, and we're going to pick it up at verse 12. Hebrews 5 and verse 12. When you get it, brother, go ahead and read.
For when for the time ye ought to be teachers, ye have need that one teach you again, which be the first principles of the oracles of God, and become as have need of milk and not of strong meat.
Okay, he said, for when for the time ye ought to be teachers, you have need that one teach you again. See, Israel forgets simple things. We forget the simple things. The last lesson I did was on the fruit of the Spirit. Israel struggles sometimes with exhibiting and showing one another the fruits of the Spirit. Like I said in the last lesson, we got keeping the law down pretty good most of the time. Keeping the Sabbath, eating clean, keeping the feast days, things of those natures. But when it comes to being charitable, when it comes to being joyful, cheerful, all those things, sometimes Israel be lacking. And humility is one of the things where Israel be lacking. We show a lot of pride in a lot of things, but when it comes to being humble, we come up short. Well, we got a lot of pride in Israel. We got a lot of black pride, a lot of black power stuff. We got a lot of that. But humility, I have a hard time seeing that sometimes, Israel. So we lacking in the simple things. Sometimes we should be teachers, but sometimes we have need to be taught, he said. Keep going.
For everyone that useth milk is unskillful in the word of righteousness,
for he is a babe.
For everyone that uses milk is unskillful in the word of righteousness. For most of us been in this thing long enough, we should be beyond the milk. We should be beyond Bible 101. We should know more than just keeping the Sabbath. We should know more than just eating clean. We should be beyond that. We shouldn't be eating milk no more. Now we need to eat that good meat, that steak. We should be able to fully and at any time explain to people what the 70 weeks of Daniel is about. We should easily be able to explain that to one another. These are simple things, simple matters, but we who have been in this word long enough should be able to explain these things to somebody that asks. We shouldn't just be able to tell somebody, well, I keep the Sabbath and that's it. Explain to them, you should be able to explain why. You should be able to take them verse by verse in the book and show them where these things are written in the book. That should be simple to you. That should be simple to us. But again, like Paul's telling us, sometimes we need to be taught again. You finish that?
Verse 14.
14, go ahead.
But strong meat belongeth to them that are of full age, even those who by reason of use have their senses exercised to discern both good and evil.
But strong meat belongs to them that are of full age. You know, there's something to be said about somebody who's actually made it to an older age. They got some wisdom. They've seen things. They've been there. They've done that. You don't get to be old being no fool. So you pay attention to those seasoned veterans. Keep going. Or was that it? That was it. All right. Let's go to Proverbs 16. Proverbs 16, we're going to pick it up at verse 23. Something to be said about reaching old age. It's not all bad. Proverbs 16. We're going to pick it up at verse 23. 16 and 23. When you get it, brother, go ahead and read.
The heart of the wise teacheth his mouth, and addeth learning to his lips. Pleasant words are as a honeycomb, sweet to the soul, and health to the bones.
The heart of the wise teaches his mouth, and addeth learning to his lips. So you should be, when you're in this book, you should not just be reading. You know, it's not just vain words, but you actually should be adding some knowledge to what you read. What was that? Verse 20. Start at verse 24. Again.
Pleasant words are as a honeycomb, sweet to the soul, and health to the bones. There is a way that seemeth right unto a man.
Oh, that's good. 24. No, you're right. Keep going. My bad.
But the end thereof are the ways of death.
That's good. All right. So, pleasant words are as honeycomb, sweet into the soul, and health to the bones. This word is bittersweet going in, but it's like sour in the belly. It's like he says in Matthew. These words are spirit and they are life. It's health to your bones. It's health to your life to live in this word. This word is a quickening spirit. He said, there is a way that seemeth right unto man, but the end thereof are the ways of death. We all got our own opinions, and we all got our own ways of doing things, and we all think our way is the right way. But our way is not the Lord's way. It can only be one way, His way or the highway. That's the only way we can do it. And that's the only way you're going to make it into heaven. It's got to be His way. It's got to be His way. It's not a Burger King, maybe have it your way. Yeah, It ain't like that at all. It's got to be God's way. Let's go to 2 Kings. 2 Kings 22. 2 Kings 22. Because we might want things our way, but we got to humble ourselves. We got to humble ourselves. We'll take a look at somebody that humbled themselves. 2 Kings 22, we'll pick it up at verse 8. 22 and 8. Go ahead.
And Hilkiah the high priest said unto Shiphan the scribe, I have found the book of the law in the house of the Lord. And Hilkiah gave the book to Shaphan, and he read it. And Shaphan the scribe came to the king, and brought the king word again, and said, Thy servants have gathered the money that was found in the house, and have delivered it into the hand of them that is to do work, that have the oversight of the house of the Lord. And Shaphan the scribe showed the king, saying, Hilkiah the priest have delivered me a book. And Shaphan read it before the king.
Okay, so Hilkiah and Shaphan, they find this book, the book of the law, and they brought this book to the king. Anybody got any, just real quick, Bible quiz. Does anybody know what king this is? Without looking back. What king is this? Come on, y'all scholars. Oh, y'all slipping. Y'all slipping. It's Josiah. This is Josiah. But anyway, Hilkiah and Shaphan brought this book of the law to the king, to Josiah. Keep going.
And Shaphan the scribe showed the king, saying, Hilkiah the priest have delivered me a book. And Shaphan read it before the king. And it came to pass, when the king had heard the words of the book of the law, that he rent his clothes. And the king commanded Hilkiah the priest, and Ahikam the son of Shaphan, and Akbor the son of Micaiah, and Shaphan the scribe, and Ashiah a servant of the king, saying, Go ye, inquire of the Lord for me, and for the people, and for Judah, concerning the words of this book that is found. For great is the wrath of the Lord that is kindled against us, because our fathers have not hearkened unto the words of this book, to do according unto all that which is written concerning us. So Hilkiah the priest, and Ahikam, and Akbor, and Shaphan, and Ashiah went unto Huldah, the prophetess, the wife of Shalom, the son of Tikvah, the son of Harhas, keeper of the wardrobe. Now she dwelt in Jerusalem in the college, and they communed with her. And she said unto them, Thus saith the Lord God of Israel, Tell the man that sent you to me, Thus saith the Lord, Behold, I will bring evil upon this place, and upon the inhabitants thereof, even all the words of the book which the king of Judah hath read, because ye have forsaken me, and have burned incense unto other gods, that they might provoke me to anger with all the works of their hands. Therefore my wrath shall be kindled against this place, and shall not be quenched.
Okay, so Hilkiah and Shaphan took this book, and they went to the prophetess Huldah at the behest of the king, and asked her, what shall we do concerning this book? And she told them, What thus saith the Lord, Behold, I will bring evil upon this place and upon the inhabitants thereof, even the words of the book which the king of Judah hath read, because they have forsaken me and have burnt incense. Did you read this yet? And burnt incense unto me, have burnt incense unto other gods, that they might provoke me to anger with all the works of their hands. Therefore my wrath shall be kindled against this place, and shall not be quenched. So Israel has done lost its way, and the Lord is pronouncing evil upon them. And so this is going to change some minds. This is going to make people do a little bit different. Verse 18.
But to the king of Judah, which sent you to inquire of the Lord, thus shall ye say unto him, Thus saith the Lord God of Israel, as touching the words as thou hast heard, because thine heart was tender, and thou hast humbled thyself before the Lord, when thou heardest what I speak against this place, and against the inhabitants thereof, that they should become a desolation and a curse, and hast rent thy clothes, and wept before thee, I also have heard thee, saith the Lord.
Okay, so he says, so the Lord says, because thine heart was tender, and thou hast what? Hast humbled thyself. See, now, if the Lord gave us forewarning a lot of times, look, if you don't do, you don't change your way, I'm going to bust your head. We would, a lot of times we change real quick. We change our stuff up in a heartbeat, right? I mean, that's all look, the Lord said He's going to give me, okay, I'm going to take a different path. So Josiah, he saw what was read, and he heard what the Lord said, and so he humbled himself. He humbled himself. He didn't have pride. He didn't say, "Oh, I'm the king. I can do what I want. I can have it my way." He knows who the boss is, and that's what we got to do. We got to realize, we may not get no warning. Lord might not tell us, trouble is coming, drama's coming. So you got to humble yourself at all times. And know you got to submit to the will of the Lord. You got to submit to this word. They just found this book after some time. And they get in here and they find out, oh man, we tripping. We ain't doing what we supposed to be doing. And so they humbled themselves. Keep going, verse 20.
Behold, therefore, I will gather thee unto thy fathers, and thou shalt be gathered into thy grave in peace, and thine eyes shall not see all the evil which I bring upon this place. And they brought the king word again.
And the Lord was true to his word. He said, behold, therefore, I will gather thee unto thy fathers, and thou shalt be gathered into thy grave in peace. And the Lord kept his word, because about 3 years, this is just before Israel goes into captivity in Babylon. And Josiah died. I don't think I put it in here, but Josiah ended up being killed just before Israel went into captivity, and it wasn't easy. The Lord spared him of that, so he didn't see the evil that the Lord had brought upon Israel. So again, the Lord kept his promise. But you have to humble yourself. You have to humble yourself before him, or he's not going to keep his promises made. He's not going to work with you if you can't be humble. But he will humble you when you start keeping this word, and you start, you say you're going to be a servant of the Most High. Then the Lord is going to humble you. He's going to bring some drama on you, and typically that's the only way Israel is going to be humbled. That's the only time usually when you start looking to the Lord is when something happens to you. Some drama comes upon you. Then you find humility real quick. Let's go to, we did finish that, right? Mm-hmm. Let's go to James 3. James 3. I'm going to start at verse 1. James 3, we're going to pick it up at verse 1. All right, brother, go ahead.
My brethren, be not many masters, knowing that we shall receive the greater condemnation.
He said, my brethren, be not many masters. So what he's saying is, neither, just like it says in Matthew, neither be ye called masters, for one is your master, even Christ. But he that is greatest upon you, he shall be your servant. So don't think more of yourself than you should. He says, knowing that we shall receive the greater condemnation. We shall, as teachers, we shall receive a greater judgment. We have more accountability. And I'm talking about all of us, because you guys are supposed to be well-read and well-versed in this word just as much as I am. You're supposed to know this thing just as much as me. And that means that you're going to have to teach. You have to be apt to teach, right? Part of the fruits of the Spirit. Be apt to teach. Be patient. So that means you're going to be held accountable. And so he says, don't be many masters. Because there's one master. We all serve that one teacher. And that's Jesus, right? That's our master. Verse 2.
For in many things we offend all. If any man offend not in word, the same is a perfect man, and able also to bridle the whole body.
For in many things we offend all. That's the truth. And if any man offend not in word, the same man is a perfect man. He's saying the same man is a godly man. That's what he means by perfect. The same man is a godly man. And able also to bridle the whole body. He's able to get his body in subjection. He's able to get his soul, his mind in subjection. That's what a godly man does. He stays on top of himself. He doesn't get out of his lane. He stays and works within the fruits of the Spirit. That's what a godly man does. Verse 3.
Behold, we put bits in the horses' mouths, that they may obey us, and we turn about their whole body.
Yeah, we talked about this before. You all know what a bit is. That's that metal piece you put inside the horse's mouth. It's just a small thing, but you can steer a horse by it. You can make a horse go any way you want by that small bit. But verse 4, go ahead.
Behold also the ships, which though they be so great, and are driven by fierce winds, yet are they turned about with a very small helm, whatsoever the governor listeth.
The helm is like the steering wheel. Huge ship, I'm talking, some of them ships are 7 football fields long, they say. And they're steered by a small little wheel. Some of them have joysticks, like a game controller. You can steer them like that. That huge vessel steered by such a very small thing. But keep going.
Even so the tongue is a little member, and boasteth great things. Behold, how great a matter of little fire kindleth.
Even so, the tongue is a little member, just a little small thing in your body, but it boasts great things. Israel can do a whole lot of things when you listen to them, when you tell it. But when it comes to actually doing something, it's all boasting. So, behold, how great matter the little fire kindleth. Verse 6.
And the tongue is a fire, a world of iniquity. So is the tongue among our members, that it defileth the whole body, and setteth on fire the course of nature, and it is set on fire of hell.
Oh, surely not. Surely not. Is that little tongue is set on fire of hell? Its sole purpose is to drive you to the hellfire. Man, that lets you know that little member is something that's important. You got to keep that little thing in subjection. You got to keep your mouth shut whenever possible. Keep that mouth shut. More words, more trouble, more drama. And Israel got a big problem with that. Let somebody cross you. Humble yourselves, brothers and sisters. Somebody step on your foot and you think it was on purpose, that mouth gets to flying. I tell some of y'all got to quit being so confrontational. She knows what I'm talking about. I just kid. But no, we gotta learn to control that fiery that tongue of fire. We got to learn to control that. Humble yourself. Keep your mouth peaceful. Verse 7.
For every kind of beast, and of bird, and of serpents, and of things in the sea is tamed, and hath been tamed of mankind. But the tongue can no man tame. It is an unruly evil, full of deadly poison.
But the tongue can no man tame. It is an unruly evil, full of deadly poison. So, you might be able to keep yourself in subjection. You might be able to control your body, But that tongue is something that's unruly. It's untamable. So the best thing you can do is keep it shut up in your mouth. Keep it caged up. Keep that tongue locked up in jail. Keep it prisoner. That's the best thing you can do. The least words, the better. Verse 9.
Therewith bless we God, even the Father, and therewith curse we men, which are made after the similitude of God. Out of the same mouth proceeded blessing and cursing, my brethren. These things ought not so to be.
He said, therefore bless we God, even the Father, and therewith curse we men, which are made after the similitude of God. And that's a shame. Every time, I'll be talking to a brother or sister on the well, I don't call them brother or sister. I'll be talking to somebody on the street, and first thing they want to do, they want to show me how much they know, how much scripture they know, or something like that. So they start talking Bible with me, and then just a few sentences in, they start using curse words here and now. Now, how am I supposed to receive that? How am I supposed to receive the word of God from somebody, and at the same time they're spewing out curse words? To me, that don't make no sense. That don't make no sense at all. And that's what he's saying here. Out of the same mouth proceedeth blessing and cursing. How can you do that? You either gonna bless somebody, or you're gonna curse them. It's one or the other. You can't do it all at the same time. Make some sense, people. My brother, these things ought not so to be, he said. And I had a brother, let me see if I can find it here. I know it's we'll throw this in here. Isaiah 6. Isaiah 6. Let me throw this in here right quick. Keep your finger in James. We're going to go right back. But Isaiah 6, my brother told me, he says, well, you know, Lord don't really care much about all that, you know, cursing and whatnot. He said, and he brought me here to Isaiah 6 and pick it up at verse 4. Verse 4. Go ahead.
And the post of the door moved at the voice of him that cried, and the house was filled with smoke. Then said I, woe is me, for I am undone, because I am a man of unclean lips, and I dwell in the midst of a people of unclean lips. For mine eyes have seen the King, the Lord of hosts.
He says, so see here Isaiah was a man of unclean lips, and he dwelt among men of unclean lips. So, you know, I speak with unclean lips, I curse little beasts, but that's okay. That's all right, we'll keep reading.
Then flew one of the seraphim unto me, having a live coal in his hand, which he had taken with the tongs from off the altar.
Okay, so it's in the seraphim, in case you don't know, that's a type of angel. That he flew under him, he had a live coal in his hand, and what did he do with it?
And he laid it upon my mouth, and said, Lo, this hath touched thy lips, and thine iniquity is taken away, and thy sin purged.
Okay, and so he laid the coal on Isaiah's mouth, and he says, thy touch thy lips, and thine iniquity is taken away, and thy sin is purged. I said, if the Lord was okay with him having unclean lips, if the Lord was all right with that, then why does the angel correct it? Why did he fix it? He should have said, oh, well, that's okay. You got unclean lips. Don't worry about it, Isaiah. Go on about your business. No, he fixed that. So, no, don't try to sell me that bucket of goods. That ain't gonna fly. He don't want blessing and cursing coming out of the same mouth. He don't want that. He wants you to be a clean vessel. He wants you to be something that others can look up to and say, hey, that brother is living godly, or that sister's living godly. And that's how they deal with others. You know, they conduct themselves in a godly manner. When you out there, I mean, just, you know, maybe the words themselves, you know, maybe they aren't something that condemn you, maybe they are, maybe they aren't. I don't want to argue that. But how does it look? How does that look for a man of God, somebody who says that they're a man of God, to be out there speaking that way? How does that look? That's not going to change the hearts and minds of someone who is, you know, maybe leaning on the fence one way or the other. You should be righteous all the time. And you should act righteous and speak righteous. But let's go back to James. Go back to James. Let's pick it up where we left off. We pick it up at verse 11. Verse 11, read it.
Doeth the mountain send forth at the same place sweet water and bitter?
Does it? No, can't. That's impossible. That's impossible. You can't, just like in the ocean. There's at the mouth of the Gulf of Mexico, I believe it is, where the Mississippi River, which is fresh water, flows into the Gulf of Mexico and mixes with salt water, or they come together. But you can clearly see from up above that they do not mix. The salt water and fresh water does not mix. You can see a line where the fresh water and the salt water are. They don't mix. You can't have them both together. There's a river, I think it's in Mexico, somewhere south of one of the, you know, faraway place in the jungle, where there is it's a salt water kind of like a pond or what you call it, maybe a reservoir of some type, but it's got salt water on the top, and when they dive down the bottom, it looks like a river running underneath the water, because it's fresh water. There's a freshwater stream that flows underneath there. They clearly do not mix. But if you're looking at a picture of it, it looks like the diver is in a, you know, he's in a total, like he's on dry ground walking through there, but you can see the water flowing underneath the water because they will not mix. Salt water can't mix. And just like the Lord is saying here, you can't have sweet water and bitter water together. They don't mix. Either the sweet water is going to make the bitter water sweet, or the bitter water is going to make the sweet water bitter. depending on which is more, which you got more of. But anyway, I digress. Verse 12, he said, can the fig tree, you read that? Read that.
Can the fig tree, my brethren, bear olive berries?
No, keep going.
Either a vine, figs, so can no fountain both yield salt water and fresh.
So can no fountain yield both salt water and fresh. An apple tree can't produce oranges. An orange tree can't produce grapes. It's not going to happen. They're going to produce one thing or the other. Either you're going to be righteous or you're not. You can't be sometime. You got to be all the time. Can't be sometime. Keep going.
Who is a wise man and endued with knowledge among you? Let him show out of a good conversation his works with meekness of wisdom. But if ye have bitter envying and strife in your hearts, glory not, and lie not against the truth. This wisdom descendeth not from above, but is earthly, sensual, and devilish.
That's right. So who is a wise man among you and endued with knowledge? He says, let him show out of a good conversation his works with meekness and wisdom. So when you're talking to these brothers and sisters, they should be showing you out of their works. They should be showing you through their works, their meekness and their wisdom. You should be able to just, by your conversation, I should be able to tell whether or not you're Christian. You shouldn't have to tell me or a servant of God, even better. I should be able to know by the conversation that we have that you're serving the Most High. It should be that simple. Verse 16.
For where envying and strife is, there is confusion and every evil work.
And envying and strife, that's not something that comes down from heaven. That's something that comes from within us. That's something that comes from within us. And usually it stems from pride. Usually it stems from pride. So we have to humble ourselves. Keep going.
But the wisdom that is from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, and easy to be entreated, full of mercy and good fruits, without partiality and without hypocrisy.
That's right. But the wisdom that is from above is first pure, then peaceable. See, he says first pure. Get this word, says you got this word comes, you got to get it directly from the book. Not from somebody else. Seek it out for yourself. Search the scriptures. Search this pure word of God. He says, then it'll be peaceable, gentle, and easy to be entreated, full of mercy and good fruits, without partiality and without hypocrisy. And you, like we talked last week, little man, you can't be mean bugging everybody. Nobody's gonna want to talk to you. He's not here today, my little partner. But you got to try to be soft. You got to be gentle. We're talking about the fruits of the Spirit again. All these things are important. You got to have. We're supposedly made in the image of God, right? And you got to have the attributes of God. You should have some of them same attributes. We should extol those same attributes all the time. Verse 18.
And the fruit of righteousness is sown in peace of them that make peace.
And the fruit of righteousness is sown in peace, and of them that make peace. So, you want peace? You have to be peaceable. You want to be entreated with full of mercy and good fruits. Well, then you got to exhibit these things. You got to give to receive these things. We finished that, right? All right. Let's go now to Romans 12. Romans 12, we're going to pick it up at verse 9. Romans 12 and 9. All right, brother, go ahead and get it.
Let love be without dissimulation. Abhor that which is evil. Cleave to that which is good.
He said, let love be without dissimulation. Because the commandment is, love thy neighbor as thyself, right? That doesn't say pick and choose, right? It says love thy neighbor. So if you're going to fulfill the commandment, then you got to get that love out without dissimulation. You can't be respecter of persons. You can't have partiality. You got to treat all men fair. You got to treat all men just. You got to deal righteously with all mankind. Let love be without dissimulation. Abhor that which is evil. He says, abhor that. Hate that which is evil. Job was a perfect and upright man. He said, and feared God and eschewed evil, right? Job hated evil. And we as servants of the Most High, we got to hate evil. We got to hate evil in all its form. Pride being one of the number one things. We're going to touch on that a little bit later. But pride is one of the things the Lord hates. So we can't be sitting around here with, black pride at the top of our mind and all of that. We got to let love be without dissimulation to all people, to all brothers, all those who would become brothers and sisters in Christ. That's for everybody, not just Israel. You got to get rid of that pride. He said, cleave to that which is good. That cleave, that's a curious word to use there. That means grab and hold on to it. That means seek it out. That's a strong word to use there. Cleave to that which is good. Verse 10.
Be kindly affectionated one to another with brotherly love and honor, preferring one another.
Be kindly affectionate one to another with brotherly love. There shouldn't be discord amongst the brethren. The Lord hates that. We're going to read it. He does not like discord amongst brothers. He does not like disagreements amongst the brethren. He does not like that. We're going to read that a little bit later. He said, be kindly affectionate one to another in honor, preferring one another. We should prefer one another's company. You should want to hang out with your brothers and sisters in Christ more than you do your worldly friends or your worldly family. It's that plain and simple. Because they ain't trying to do nothing but get you into worldly stuff. Your brothers and sisters in here, we get together, we sit here, like today, we'll probably be here till sundown talking about the book. That's what we do. This is what the Lord wants. Wherever you are, even if it's not the Sabbath, you get together, we will be sitting and talking about the book. We'll find a place to put the book where the book don't even belong. We talking. But that's what we do, But we're trying to lift each other up, trying to keep each other on the right page. You know what I'm saying? Keep each other in your lane, help one another. And that's the way it's supposed to be. You can't do that with the worldly family and friends. You got to forsake them. You got to forsake them. I'm not saying, cut them completely out of your life, because who knows, you might be the light that brings them in. But you cannot prefer them over your church family. You can't do that. It shouldn't be that way, brothers and sisters. It shouldn't be that way. Where are we at? 14, read it.
Bless them which persecute you. Bless and curse not.
And how you do that? I find that a little bit hard myself. Bless them which persecute you. Bless and curse not. That's a tough one. But that's humility for you. That's how you humble yourself. Somebody you know is purposely persecuting you, you've got to bless them and curse them not. That's tough. I find that on the job. I know brothers be setting me up for failure. I did just the other day. Guy picks up a load for me. Those who don't know, I'm a truck driver. Guy picks up the load for me. He knows that it's going to California. And when you take a trailer into California, there's certain special regulations you got to meet. For one, for instance, that the trailer tandem can't be over a 40-foot mark. Okay, there's a little mark on most trailers that lets you know that rear tandem should not be past that mark. Now, this brother, he knew when he picked it up that he should have, when he weighed it, to make sure that, because the other thing is you got to make sure you're not overgross, not overweight. But he knew when he weighed this thing out that he has to put that mark, that tandem, in front of the mark and weigh it. Don't do him no good to weigh it behind the mark. So, of course, by the time I get the trailer, it's the tandem is behind the mark, so that's one thing that's illegal, and it's overweight. That's two things I'm set up for failure right off the bat. And so when I go into dispatch, I say, hey, I can't fix this. I said, one, I can't go past it. It's already past the mark, and I can't move the weight. I said, that's one thing. I said, the other thing is I'm overweight. I said, if they make me slide the tandem past, or to make it legal to get past the mark, well, then I'm going to be even more overweight. And that could be, when you get overweight, that could be as much as $100 per 10 pounds. You know, you're talking about $1,000, $2,000 fine. I'm not about that. I'm not about that for a minute. So they, so he said, I'm set up for failure before I even get started. And I know he knew better. He knew better. But how do you bless him and not curse him? That's my point. You know what I'm saying? Because when I seen him, I wanted to, I had some choice words for him. But I'm trying to be a servant of the Most High, and they know that, and so I just take it. That's why they mess with me. That's why they keep on doing stuff like that. But I did kind of make it known, if I see you somewhere else, hey. I said I'm trying. I'm trying. Stuff makes a brother mad. Where are we at? 15, read it. Rejoice with them that do rejoice, and weep with them that weep. Rejoice with them that do rejoice, and weep with them that weep. You have a brother, a sister in sorrow, sorrow with them, empathize with them, try to comfort them, help them in their time of sorrow. Keep going. Be of the same mind one towards another. Mind not high things, but condescend to men of low estate. Be not wise in your own conceits. Be of the same mind towards another. Be of the same mind one towards another. We should all be of one accord, right? We should all be teaching the same thing. We all have the same book, don't we? We're all reading and teaching out of this book, aren't we? And we should all be on the same accord. We should all be saying the same thing, no matter where we go. If I come up behind Brother Rashad, somebody that's talked to Brother Rashad, that person should tell me, hey, you know what? Brother Rashad told me the same very thing. And he said, and if he talks to Rashad, he said, you know what? Travis told me the same thing you told me. You see, that's how it should work. You shouldn't hear nothing no different. Maybe we might say it in a different way, but we're saying the same thing. It should be one accord. Nothing should be different. He said, mind not high things, but condescend to men of low estate. Bring yourself, don't be up there on a high pedestal. Condescend to me. He said, bring yourself to low estate, to the poor. He said, be mixed with those people who are poor. Think about them. Think about the poor people. Don't always be in mixed company with the, rubbing shoulders with the rich folk.
Rubbing shoulders, something like that.
Shouldn't always be that way. Lower yourself to men of low estate. That's where the servants of God are going to be found anyway. The rich have their reward. Isn't that what the scripture says? You finish that verse?
Yes, sir.
It says, be not wise in your own conceits. Be not wise in your own conceits. Don't lean on your own understanding. Verse 17.
Recompense to no man evil for evil.
Read that again.
Recompense to no man evil for evil.
That could be hard for Israel. That could be real hard for Israel. Recompense to no man evil for evil. If somebody does some evil to you, what are you supposed to do?
Bless them.
You're supposed to bless them, not curse them. That's right. Water off a duck's back. You got to let it go. Recompense to no man evil for evil. What else?
Provide things honest in the sight of all men.
In all your dealings, be honest. Be honest with all men. Verse 18.
If it be possible, as much as lieth in you, live peaceably with all men.
If it be possible, as much as lieth in you, live peaceably with all men. That didn't say all men, right? Mm-hmm. Except your boss.
All men.
Except your supervisor.
Provide things honest in the sight of all men.
All men. Okay, so except your husband. You don't have to live peaceably with your husband, right?
All men.
Or your wife?
All men.
So all men means all men then, huh? So if it be possible, as much as lieth in you, So that tells me if as long as there's breath in you, you got to try to do everything you can to live peaceably with all men, husbands and wives. You got to do all you can to live peaceably with one another. It's just that plain and simple. Because this, when it comes down to it, like Brother Art's lesson taught us last week, this life is vanity. This stuff is all going to waste away. And we're spending a whole lot of time bickering and arguing with each other over stuff that's going to pass away. And not putting no deposits in the bank for the future, which is that kingdom. This bickering and arguing ain't going to get you nowhere. It's short-lived. This life is short-lived and full of trouble. If it be possible, as much as lieth in you, live peaceably with all men. What else?
Dearly beloved, avenge not yourselves.
Avenge not yourselves. Another hard one for Israel. Another one. Somebody steps on your toes, it's time to get some payback, right? No, we can't do that. It's not the big payback. We can't do that. You got to humble yourself. Recompense to no man evil for evil, it said. He said, dearly beloved, avenge not yourselves. Keep going.
But rather give peace unto wrath.
He said, but rather give place unto wrath. So when somebody does you wrong, naturally, quite naturally, you're human. You're going to get mad about it. Not saying that's wrong. He's not saying you can't get mad. He said, but give place to that anger. Put that anger somewhere else. Put it in your back pocket. Don't take it out on somebody, because that's not your job. He said, dearly beloved, avenge not yourselves, but rather give place to your wrath. Put that wrath away. Store somewhere else. Let it go. Let that go. Because what's written?
For it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, saith the Lord.
The Lord is going to take care of it. The Lord is going to take care of it. So you might as well, and he can do a far better job of paying somebody back than you can. The Lord knows how to get some get back. He knows how. So let him handle it. Let him take care of it. Because that punishment is going to be on them. It's going to be way worse than anything you can do to them. So just let the Lord handle it. Verse 20.
Therefore, if thy enemy hunger, feed him. If he thirst, give him drink. For in doing so, thou shalt heap coals of fire on his head.
And that is so pleasurable. I've done that before. Somebody I know trying to make me mad, hey, take them out to dinner. And just heat this, and you can just see that just burning them up. And I'm just enjoying it. Just keeping coals on. I'm just pouring gasoline on the fire. And then you get to see it burns them up. But, that's what, I might be a little bit spiteful because I knew that was going to burn him up. But hey, he told me, if thine enemy hunger, feed him. If he thirst, give him drink. For in so doing, thou shalt heap coals of fire on his head. Because the Lord is going to get him back. Don't you get the payback, the Lord is going to get it. Verse 21.
Be not overcome with evil, but overcome evil with good.
Be not overcome of evil, but overcome evil with good. And that's a good policy to live by. Be peaceable, with all men. If at all possible, as much as life in you, live peaceably with all men. Don't meet evil for evil. Don't do it. Overcome the evil with good. Be that light that outshines the darkness. There's a saying where there is a little bit of light, even darkness must recede. So no matter where that light comes, the darkness has to go away. The darkness doesn't overcome the light. So be that good that overcomes the evil. We finish that? All right. 1 Peter 3. We read that whole thing. We can skip it. You slipped. Oh, did you skip? No. Skip what?
No, we went to over 14. 10 to 14.
Yeah, you read it. I'm just saying, when I forgot to say, skip. Wait. you did your job, you was on it. 1 Peter 3, and we're going to pick it up at verse 1. You know I got to be on the look.
Yeah, keep me honest.
Yeah.
Keep me honest.
Can't be just slide through this thing and no unscathed. 1 Peter 3, and we're going to pick it up at verse 1.
Ready?
Verse 3 and verse 1. All right, go ahead.
Likewise, ye wives, be in subjection to your own husbands, that if any obey not the word, they also may be without the word be won by the conversation of the wives.
Okay, so when we're talking about the wives here. And he says, likewise, ye wives, be in subjection to your own husbands. Is there a caveat there?
No.
Is there an asterisk? An affidavit? I mean, some kind of exception to this? I mean, because if there is, somebody tell me, likewise, ye wives, be in subjection to your own husbands. Does that mean that, your husband should be a dictator? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But the Lord did set up the chain of command. And the husband is the head, and Christ being the head over the husband. You don't like the order God set up? You got to take that up with him. Don't be mad at your husband. He didn't set this thing up. He says, likewise, ye wives, be in subjection to your own husbands, that what?
That they also may without the word be won by conversation of the wives.
Because he says that if any obey not the word, they also may without the word be won by the conversation of the wives. So, living for the Lord, if you're with somebody who is struggling with the word, or maybe not in the word at all, you living by the word may convert them, might bring them in. Might bring them into this thing. But you got to be doing right. If both of you ain't living right, then, that ship is going to crash. I'm sorry. That's a car wreck waiting to happen. Somebody's got to have their eyes open. You can't be blind leading the blind. You're both going to end up in the ditch. Verse 2.
While they behold your chaste conversation coupled with fear.
While they behold your chaste conversation coupled with fear. Chaste conversation. That means you have bridled your tongue. That means you're speaking about those things that need to be spoken about. You're talking about good things. You're talking about this word. It's chaste conversation coupled with fear. Fear of what? Fear of God. That's what you fear. That's what you're supposed to fear. Job was a perfect and upright man and feared God and eschewed evil. He hated evil. While they behold your chaste conversation coupled with fear, verse 3.
Whose adorning let it be not that outward adorning of plaiting of hair and of wearing of gold or of putting on of apparel. But let it be the hidden man of the heart and that which is not corruptible, even the ornament of the meek and quiet spirit, which is in the sight of God of great price.
That's right. So when somebody looks at you, all they see shouldn't just be your outward appearance. It shouldn't be just about these jewels or the clothes that you're wearing. It shouldn't be like he says, adorning, the plaiting of the hair, the wearing of gold, or the putting on apparel. It shouldn't be about that. He said, but let it be the hidden man of the heart. Let it be that spirit that comes from the inside that people see. Let them see that you're living for the Most High. Let them see that you're a servant of God. Let that be what people see. Let that be what people notice. Not your clothes, not your fashion sense, not your fashion smarts. Let it be that inward man, that inward mind. He says, and that which is not corruptible, even the ornament of a meek and quiet spirit, which is in the sight of God of great price. In God's eyes, that is something of great price. Of great price, he said. Verse 5.
For after this manner in the old time, the holy women also, who trusted in God, adorned themselves, being in subjection unto their own husbands.
That's right. For after this manner, in the old time, the holy women also who trusted in God, these holy women, it says, who trusted in God. Not that they trusted in man, but they trusted in God. Not that they trusted in their husband, but they trusted in God. Because who's the head? Who is supposed to be the head of the man? Christ. So if you trust in Christ, then you should trust in your man, because it should follow in line. He said that they trust in God, adorn themselves, being in what? In subjection unto their own husbands. Wives should be in subjection to their husbands. Wives have to learn to humble themselves. They have to learn to humble themselves. Verse 6.
Even as Sarah obeyed Abraham, calling him Lord, whose daughters ye are, as long as ye do well, and are not afraid with any amazement.
He said, even as Sarah obeyed Abraham, calling him Lord. Now, I haven't got my wife to call me Lord yet, but, I'm all right with that. I'm okay with that. She's a good wife. She's in subjection. She lives godly. I praise God and thank the Lord for her. He said, oh, you know what? I was just thinking, somebody tried to convince me that wives don't mean wives. So some people getting real tricky with this word. Getting real tricky with this word. They said wives don't mean wives. When he's talking about wife, he's talking about the church. That's what he's talking about. So he's saying the church. It was a woman. A church should be in subjection unto your own husband. I said, man.
I'm doing that, kid.
Oh man, I'm telling you, you know it. So wife doesn't mean wife anymore. I said, okay, well, if it's not talking about a woman, then why in verse 6 did he say, even as Sarah obeyed Abraham, calling him Lord? So Sarah ain't Sarah? What is she? Ain't that a woman? Come on, man. You're getting real tricky with these words. There's something out there. Do anything not to submit themselves to a man. Anything. Whatever it takes. And like I said, it's humility, it's humble, it's humbling yourself. That's a hard thing for us to do. It's a very hard thing for us to do. But that's part of this walk. That's part of this walk. Where are you at? Verse 7.
Likewise, ye husbands, dwell with them according to knowledge.
Dwell with them according to what?
Knowledge.
Okay, come on.
Giving honor unto the wife, as unto the weaker vessel, and as being heirs together in the grace of life, that your prayers be not hindered.
Likewise, ye husbands, dwell with them according to knowledge. Deal with them according to this book. Deal with them according to this book. You want them to love, respect, and honor you? Then live according to this word. Be honest in all your dealings. Show the fruits of the Spirit. Be righteous at all times. And they can't, they got nothing else to do but show you that and give you that subjection. Nothing but. He says giving, and then when a wife subjects herself to her husband, the husband quite naturally will give honor unto his wife because he appreciates everything she does for him. One thing follows another. It's a chain reaction. It's a chain reaction. He says, dwell with them according to knowledge, giving honor unto the wife as unto the weaker vessel. And sometimes that's the thing that us men have a hard time understanding sometimes. Well, we know that the women are weaker vessel, but we have a hard time understanding that sometimes. We have a hard time dealing with the women being weaker vessel. I'm scared of the dark. Girl, turn that light off. We don't understand. Sometimes we don't understand little simple things like that. Lock the door, honey. I'm afraid. Look, I'm a man. I ain't got to lock the door. Little things, we see things different. But they're the weaker vessel. And we're supposed to understand that. We got to learn to deal with that. We got to learn to kind of help them and cater to that sometimes. We got to capitulate sometimes because they're the weaker vessel. But there's a reward for that. He says, and as being heirs together of the grace of life. Because you and her together, you're heirs of the grace of life. You're living in this word. That your prayers be not hindered. Because if you're fighting and striving one another, and you're not listening, one is not subjecting to the other, and the other is not dealing with according to knowledge, your prayers are going to be hindered. That's plain and simple. Don't expect a blessing if you're not living accordingly. Don't expect it. Don't expect peace in your house if you are not willing to have peace. You're not going to get it. There's not going to be peace. If you're a warmonger, then expect war. If you're a peacemaker, then you can expect peace. It's that plain and simple. He didn't make this thing hard. He did not make this thing hard to understand. Verse 8.
Finally, be ye all of one mind, having compassion one of another. Love as brethren. Be pitiful. Be courteous.
And that's, again, he's talking some hard stuff here. Finally, be ye all of one mind, one accord. Having compassion one of another. Caring for one another. You know, how's your day? And caring about how that person's day was. Not just idle conversation. Not just chit-chat. You ask somebody how their day was, and you ask them and be sincere about it. You know, is there anything you need, brother or sister? Is there anything I can do for you? And be serious about that. Don't just be a storefront. You ask them, you want to help somebody, then be sincere about it. He said, love his brother and be pitiful. Oh my, that's a hard one to do. Be pitiful. Humble yourself that much to the point where you're pitiful in the sight of someone else. And somebody said, well, I'm not going to look weak. I'm not going to look weak to others. What harm is there? I mean, you're not going to let people just run over you, but you shouldn't, you should be humble. Humble. He said, be courteous, be kind and courteous. Talk courteous to everybody. That's one problem I have at work too, is that bothers me. People are not courteous to one another. One man comes up and they do certain things. I won't get into technical details of all the truck driving, but they'll set the truck to set the trailers to suit them, and they don't think about the man that comes behind them. And when you're finished, when you're like for instance, when I'm done with the load, when I'm done with the trailer, the thing that I should do is inspect that trailer, make sure no tires are flat on it. That's a simple thing to do. Just walk around and make sure there ain't no flat tires. Because somebody else is going to come behind me and pick that trailer up. And if there's a flat tire, well, I'm costing that man time and money. Because I could have all I do is walk around, look, okay, no flat tires, move on. And then the next person is okay. That's courtesy. To me, that's common sense. We should do that to one another at all times, brothers and sisters. We should always be courteous, willing to do those simple things with one another. You see somebody, I'm just talking about simple manners. You see somebody come in the doorway, step aside, let them through. Don't stand there, looking at them crazy, and they got to ask you, or tell you, excuse me, I'd like to come through the door. Oh, I just thought you wanted to come stare at me. Be courteous. Think about others, beyond yourself. Life extends past your nose.
Yes, it does.
Be courteous. Think about others. If there's just a little bit of food, you don't keep it all on your plate just for yourself. There's some other people got to eat. Think, people. Be courteous. Where we at?
9.
Get me started, man.
Not rendering evil for evil, or railing for railing, but contrariwise blessing, knowing that ye are thereunto called, that ye should inherit a blessing.
Not rendering evil for evil, because no one appointed us to be the prosecutors. Nobody enforced us to be the law enforcers. It says that there will be a time where we will judge, but he did not give us authority to punish one another. You can't read to me anywhere where it says punish your brother. Can you? Is that in Scripture somewhere? But why we do that? Why do we do that? Why do we punish one another and not think nothing of it? Got to get away from that way of thinking. It is not up to us to punish one another. Now, like I said, there'll be a time when we are judges, but even at that time, you will decide a matter whether or not someone be guilty, per se, but it's not up to the judge to carry out the sentence. that sentence is passed, the execution of the sentence or the punishment is carried out by another. So even at that time, you will not be the punisher. It is not up to us to punish one another for one another's wrongdoings. It's not our job. Stay in your lane. Where were you at?
Verse 10.
Verse 10? Let me finish. He says, not rendering evil for evil, verse 9, or railing for railing. That's another problem Israel has. Railing for railing. Well, if somebody does something wrong, or on that phone, talking to somebody else, man, you know what so-and-so did, and they some dirty so-and-sos and such-and-suches, and man, Israel's bad about that. Got to stop that. Got to stop that railing on one another. You know, it's because somebody messes up, that doesn't mean it needs to be public. He said those things done in private shouldn't even be, those things done in secret shouldn't even be spoken of. Isn't that what the scripture says? Shouldn't even be spoken of. He says, but contrary-wise, if somebody's done some evil, be contrary-wise, blessing and not cursing, right? Bless them that curse you, knowing that ye are unto called, because you've been called to do something different than the rest of the world, that ye should inherit a blessing. So the only way you're going to inherit a blessing is if you be contrary to the world. You are called to be a peculiar people, right? A peculiar people means you're going to do something different. You're going to be about something different. You're going to be about the Lord's business. Verse 10.
For he that will love life and seek good days, let him refrain his tongue from evil, and his lips that they speak no guile.
Does that need anything to be said? For he that will love life and see good days, let him refrain his tongue from evil. Eschew evil. Keep your tongue from it. Keep your mouth shut. And his lips, and they shall speak no guile. They shouldn't speak bad about anybody. Not one of the people, you know, you come to me talking about somebody, I'll listen. You know, I don't like it, I'll listen, but you won't catch me talking about somebody else. Especially when they're not there to defend themselves. I'm not going to do it. And I really don't like it when people do it to me. I don't want to be talked about by somebody else when I'm not there. You know, most people don't. We should not do these things. Speak no guile. Verse 11.
Let him eschew evil.
Hate evil.
And do good.
And do good.
Let him seek peace and ensue
And ensue it. Pursue it. Let him seek peace and pursue it. Chase after it. Verse 12.
For the eyes of the Lord are over the righteous, and his ears are open unto their
For
prayers.
the eyes of the Lord are over the righteous, and his ears are open unto their prayers. But what?
But the face of the Lord is against them that do evil.
But the face of the Lord is against them that do evil. The face of him is against those that do evil. So he that turneth away his ear from hearing the law, even his prayers become the abomination unto the Lord. He puts them earphones in, he ain't listening no more. How many times do we say that? How many time again we talk about that? He ain't always going to listen to those who are not doing his will. You got to keep on doing his will for him to hear you and answer your prayers. Verse 13.
And who is he that will harm you if ye be followers of that which is good?
Good question. Keep going.
But if ye suffer for righteousness' sake, happy are ye, and be not afraid of their terror, neither be troubled.
He says, but if ye suffer for righteousness' sake, happy are ye. He says, you know, like he's saying, don't recompense evil for evil. Bless them that curse you. Don't get that payback. Let the Lord take care of that. And he's telling you, but if ye suffer for righteousness' sake, if you suffer for, you know, persecution because you're keeping the Sabbath, because you're eating clean, because you're serving the Most High, if you suffer, happy are ye. Happy are ye. Did Paul tell you, he said, count it all joy when you're persecuted? When you're chastised, I mean? Verse 15.
But sanctify the Lord God in your hearts, and be ready always to give an answer to every man that asketh you a reason of the hope that is in you with meekness and fear.
Keep going.
Having a good conscience that, whereas they speak evil of you, as of evildoers, they may be ashamed that falsely accuse your good conversation in Christ.
Having good conscience, that whereas they speak evil of you, as of evildoers, they may be ashamed that they falsely accuse your good conversation in Christ. There will be those that speak evil of you who, when you're trying to do right. You getting this word? And some of the first people that get on to you and start talking bad about you is your own family. Friends that are close to you start talking evil, but they will be ashamed. There'll come a time when they will be ashamed of your good conversation in Christ. They'll have to pay for that. They'll have to pay for that in hellfire. Verse 17.
For it is better, if the will of God be so, that ye suffer for well-doing than for evil-doing.
Amen. Amen to that. For it is better, if the will of God be so, that ye suffer for well-doing rather than evil-doing. And that should be common sense to everybody. Would you rather suffer for doing good than suffer for doing bad? I mean, that only makes sense to me. I mean, you know you got to break the law and you get caught, you're going to go to jail. You already know that. But you cannot find no joy in that. But if you are living for the Lord and you get persecuted and you suffer for that, you can find joy in that because you know that promise has been made to you. There's been a promise made to you if you suffer for his name's sake, right? You can find joy in that. Verse 18.
For Christ also hath once suffered for sins, the just for the unjust, that he might bring us to God, being put to death in the flesh, but quickened by the Spirit. Or quickened by the Spirit.
That's right. For Christ also hath once suffered for sins, the just for the unjust, that he might bring us to God, being put to death in the flesh, but quickened being made alive by the Spirit. So, again, he's showing you a greater example. He suffered for the just. He suffered the just for the unjust. We get treated unjustly, we suffer for that. If we're persecuted for the name for the Lord's sake, that's an unjust persecution, but we suffer for that for the name of the Lord. Be happy in that. And be made a quickening spirit by that. Let's go now to 1 Timothy. 1 Timothy 3. First Timothy 3, we're going to pick it up at verse 1. All right, 1 Timothy 3:1. Go ahead.
This is a true saying. If a man desire the office of a bishop, he desireth a good work.
That's right.
A bishop then must be blameless, the husband of one wife, vigilant, sober, of good behavior, given to hospitality, apt to teach.
So, if a brother wants to do some good, he desires the office of a bishop or some form of, for lack of a better word, leadership. That's a good thing. As long as his desire is to do the will of the Lord. It's good for a brother to want to serve the Lord and stand up and have some responsibility in the church. That's good. It's a good thing. He desires a good work, he says. But a bishop then must be blameless, the husband of one wife. So the leaders, the leaders, teachers and such, they have to be the husband of one wife. There ain't no caveat there. I don't see no caveat there. It says vigilant, sober, of good behavior, given to hospitality, and apt to teach. A lot of these are fruits of the Spirit we're talking about here. But these are the things that someone who is wanting to serve the Most High, these are attributes that they must have. Verse 3.
Not given to wine, no striker, not greedy of filthy lucre, but patient, not a brawler, not covetous.
Not given to wine, no striker, not greedy of filthy lucre, not, you're not after money. We don't get in this thing for money. I don't get paid one dime. Neither none of the brother teachers that come here and stand back here get paid one single dime. We're not in this thing for filthy lucre. We're in this to help you guys get some understanding, some knowledge and understanding, and hopefully get some ourselves. That's why we do this thing. Not giving to wine, no striker. You're not violent. You're not quick to, put a hand on somebody. You're not quick to do these things. You get rid of that. Lose that temper. But patient. Not a brawler, he says. Not covetous. When I was young, I used to be a brawler. Not covetous. Verse 4.
One that ruleth well his own house, having his children in subjection with all gravity.
He says, one that ruleth well his own house. If you desire to be, a leader in the church, it says you need to have your own house, rule your own house well. Having children in subjection with all gravity, with all honesty. Have your children in subjection with all honesty. Dealing with them honestly. Verse 5.
For if a man know not how to rule his own house, how shall he take care of the church of God?
Okay, for if a man know not how to rule his own house, how shall he take care of the church of God? That's a good and valid question. That's a good and valid question. If I'm standing up here and I can't even keep my own house straight, who's going to take me seriously? If I'm out there acting crazy, and none of you can believe a word I got to say. So I got to keep myself right. And I got to keep my house in subjection. My wife and my children. That's why there's an order. That's why the Lord put an order into this thing. And remember, we just read, wives, be in subjection to your husbands. If the wife is out there acting crazy, so I tell my wife all the time, it's not, as a teacher, it's not just me standing up there, but they're also looking at you and see how you act. And if you're out there acting crazy, they ain't going to take me serious. They're not going to take me serious. So we all have to do our part. We all have to be precious in the sight of the Lord. We all have to be righteous at all times. It includes all of us. So wives, if you want your husbands to do well, then you got to do well. You got to be right. Keep going.
Not a novice, lest being lifted up with pride, he fall into condemnation of the devil.
That's right. Take some time. Learn this thing. Don't be a novice. Don't be a beginner. If you're still eating the milk, then you can't get up here and teach. You got to get some experience. You got to get some knowledge, lest you be lifted up with pride and you fall into condemnation. You fall into judgment with the devil. You end up in the same place that he's going to end up. Verse 7.
Moreover, he must have a good report of them that are without, lest he fall into reproach and the snare of the devil.
That's right. Everybody's got to, we should all be able to see that you have, that you're a good standing, that you're serving the Most High. Everybody should be able to see that. Verse 8.
Likewise must the deacons be grave, not double-tongued, not given to too much wine, not greedy of filthy lucre, holding the mystery of the faith in pure conscience.
We're talking about behavior here. Likewise must the deacons be grave. That means serious. Be serious. Don't be the court jester all the time. It's not always about joking around and being in some folly. If somebody has a serious question, answer them seriously. Take it seriously. Take this word seriously. Not double-tongued, it says. Not given to much wine. Not greedy. Not greedy of filthy lucre. Holding the mystery of the faith in pure conscience. Keeping this word pure and holding it sacred to you. Verse 10.
And let these also first be proved. Then let them use the office of a deacon, being found blameless. Even so must their wives be grave, not slanderers, sober, faithful in all things. Let the deacons be the husbands of one wife, ruling their children in their own house as well. For they that have used the office of a deacon well purchased to themselves a good charge, and great boldness in the faith which is in Christ Jesus.
That's right.
These things write I unto thee, hoping to come unto thee shortly. But if I tarry long, that thou mayest But if I tarry long, that thou mayest know how thou oughtest to behave thyself in the church of God, which is the church of the living God, the pillar and the ground of the truth.
That's right. So he's telling them, he says, but if I tarry long, he said, I'm writing this letter that thou mayest know how thou oughtest to behave thyself in the house of God, which is the church of the living God. So he's letting them know this is how you are supposed to behave yourselves in the house of God. And, you know, if you're living, you're supposed to be living for the Lord, well, this is a temple. Your body is his temple. This is how you should always be living, no matter where you're at. And whoever you're around should be able to look at you and say, that brother right there is living for the Lord at all times. It should never be a doubt in anybody's mind. And I don't know if I can stress that enough. There should never be a time when somebody who doesn't know you can look at you and doubt who you serve. That shouldn't happen. That should not happen. Luke 14. Talking about humbling yourself. Luke 14. Luke 14 and verse 7. A leader, someone who wants to be a leader in the church, has to first humble himself. That's what we're talking about in Timothy. Being a servant. Servants serve others, right? So that means it's not just about you, it's about everybody else, right? Love thy neighbor as thyself. Serve them. Be not many masters, for there is one master, even Christ. Verse 7. Read it.
And he put forth the parable to those which were by him, when he marked how they chose out of the chief rooms, saying unto them.
Okay, so this Jesus getting ready talking a parable like he always did. Go ahead.
When thou art bidden of any man to a wedding, sit not down in the highest room, lest a more honorable man than thou be bidden of him.
Okay, so this is a simple thing. When thou art bidden of any man to a wedding, sit not down in the highest room. In other words, if you can apply this to, your life. You can apply this to real life circumstances that apply to you. You're invited to somewhere, to some event. He says, don't go sit in the best seats. Don't go sit in the best seat. He said, sit not down in the highest room, lest a more honorable man than thou be bidden of him. Unless, you go and sit in the best seat, and then you come in, somebody else comes in who has more power and authority than you, and he takes you out of your seat and puts you somewhere else. Probably puts you in your place, down up in the nosebleed section. Then that could be quite embarrassing. But he says, when you go in there, first of all, don't even choose to go to the highest places. Don't even choose to do that. Verse 9.
And he said that bade thee and him come and sit. And he that bade thee and him come and say to thee, give this man place, and thou begin with shame to take the lowest room.
So just like I said, so somebody comes in and they give that man your seat, and now you're walking with your tail between your legs, hoping nobody saw you get kicked out of your seat, so you can go to a lower seat, to a lesser seat. Verse 10.
But when thou art bidden, go and sit down in the lowest room, that when he that bade thee cometh, he may say unto thee, friend, go up higher, then shalt thou have worship in the presence of them that sit at meat with thee.
See, he humbles them. This person humbled themselves. Go in and sit in the lower seat. Go in and sit in the worst seat. And when your friend comes and says, hey man, why are you sitting here? Come in here, and sit with the up here with the good folks. So sit in the good spot. Let them exalt thee. Don't exalt yourself. Let them exalt you. And there's no shame in that. Keep going.
For whosoever exalts himself shall be abased, and he that humbleth himself shall be exalted.
Whoever shall exalt himself shall be abased, and he that humbleth himself, he shall be exalted. So don't exalt yourself, humble yourself. Humble yourself before God and men. That's the title of the lesson. Don't always look for the best things. Don't always look for the best things. Let the best things, those things, he says, seek ye first the kingdom of God, and these things shall be added unto you, right? So don't always go out there looking to get the best of everything. Humble yourself. Be content. That's one thing, I find helps me a lot. Be content with what you have. I'm not always looking for a better car, better house, all that. The Lord will give you what you need. He'll bless you with exactly what you need. It's not all the time. You don't need that other car. You don't need all those, a faster car or a bigger truck or something. Be content with what you got. We finished that? Verse 12, come on.
Then said he also to him that bade him, When thou makest a dinner or a supper, call not thy friends, nor thy brethren, neither thy kinsmen, nor thy rich neighbors, lest they also bid thee again, and a recompense be made thee.
He says, okay, so when you make a dinner or a supper, call not thy friends, nor thy brethren, neither kinsmen, nor their rich neighbors, lest they also bid thee again, and recompense be made thee. So, call them expecting that, okay, I called you over for supper. Now I expect you're going to have me over for supper. You're going to repay me. So don't do that. Verse 13.
But when thou makest a feast, call the poor, the maimed, the lame, the blind.
Why is that?
And thou shalt be blessed, for they cannot recompense thee, for thou shalt be recompensed at the resurrection of the just.
So call those who can't, call somebody who is struggling a little bit, who can't eat, who may not be eating. Call some of those, the blind and the lame, or call somebody of lower estate. You remember, he said, I think, what was that, Romans, condescend to them of low estate. Seek them out, call them to dinner, because they're not going to be able to recompense you. He says, for thou shalt be recompensed when? At the resurrection of the just. That's when it matters. That's when your recompense matters. That's when it should be important to you. The first shall be last, the last shall be first, and that. Let's read that. Let me add that. Let's go to where is that? That's Matthew 20, I think. Matthew 20 and Matthew 20 and verse 1. We got time. We ain't doing nothing else. Matthew 20 and verse 1. Read it.
For the kingdom of heaven is like unto a man that is a householder, which went out early in the morning to hire laborers in his vineyard. And when he agreed with the laborers for a penny a day, he sent them into his vineyard. And he went out about the third hour and saw others standing idle in the marketplace. Okay, so
the householder, is hiring people to work in this vineyard, and he hired these people for a penny a day. And it said it's about the third hour of the day, right? Yeah, third hour of the day, and saw others standing idle in the marketplace. And what?
It said unto them, Go ye also into the vineyard, and whatsoever is right I will give you. And they went their way. Again he went out about the 6th and 9th hour.
So the day keeps getting longer, or it's getting later in the day, I guess I should say. Getting later in the day. Go ahead.
And did likewise. And about the 11th hour he went out, and found others standing idle, and saith unto them, Why stand ye here all the day idle? They say unto him, Because no man hath hired us. He saith unto them, Go ye also into the vineyard, and whatsoever is right, that shall ye receive.
So all throughout the day, he's been hiring people to go work in this vineyard. At different stages, different hours of the day, he's going out and he's hiring people to work in this vineyard. And verse 8.
So when even was come, the Lord of the vineyard saith unto his steward, Call the laborers, and give them their hire, beginning from the last unto the first. And when they came that were hired about the 11th hour, they received every man a penny. But when the first came, they supposed they should have received more, and they likewise received every man a penny. And when they had received it, they murmured against the good man of the house.
But you know they did. You know, some of them was hot, and some of them was real hot. And first of all, some of them been there all day long since the sun come up working, and then you're gonna pay these other cats who just came in just before the bell rung to do some work, and you're gonna pay them first. You know some of these cats was hot, and they paid them a penny. He says, likewise received every man a penny. So they all got paid the same pay. No matter how long they worked during that day, they all received a penny. They keep going.
Saying that these last have wrought but 1 hour, and thou hast made them equal unto us, which have borne the burden and the heat of the day. But he answered one of them and said, Friend, I do thee no wrong. Didst thou not agree with me for a penny? Take that thine is, and go thy way. I will give unto this last even as unto thee. Is it not lawful for me to do with I will with mine own? Is thine eye evil because I am good? So the last shall be first, and the first last. For many be called, but few chosen.
So, like he says, in some ways it is wrought because the ones worked all day long, and they got paid a penny, and the ones that only worked for an hour, they also got paid a penny. But the laborer, he said, why are you mad at me? You all signed up for the same reward, which was a penny. And this is the same with the kingdom of heaven. No matter when you get into this thing, you all are signing up for the same thing. You're all signing up to get into the kingdom of heaven. Be happy that you're going to get in there. Be happy that you can get in there. Not that you got 2 pennies more than the next man that gets in there. Just be happy that you can sweep the broom, use a broom in the kingdom. At least you're in there. I don't care what my job is in there. I'll be happy just to be in there. If I gotta dust your shoes off when you come in, I'm cool with that. Whatever you need. You want me to dust your seat off? Here you go. Yeah, whatever it takes. Whatever it takes. But he says, so the last shall be first, and the first last. For many be called, but few are chosen. Few are chosen. And see, those little words like that, few. Little words like that ought to scare the daylights out of you. Because just a few of us are going to make it. Contrary to what the Sunday churches will teach you, not everybody's going to make it. Not into the kingdom of God. Not in the good side of the kingdom. There's going to be a lot of them on the other side. Those that are without, the whoremongers, the backbiters, the murderers, evildoers. I forget all it said in Revelation 21. Those are without. Those are in the lake of fire. I don't want to be one of them. I'm trying to be the doorman. But let's go. We finished that? Yeah. Okay. So let's go to Luke 18 now. Get back on track. But the last shall be first. That's the main thing I wanted to go there for. Humble yourself. The last shall be first. Don't always look to be first. Don't always look for to yourself. Be courteous. Look to someone else before yourself. Humble yourself. It's not pride. Pride is not going to get you anywhere. You can't show me a good example of pride. You can't show me one. Pride always gets you in trouble. It is not helpful. Luke 18. Luke 18. And we're going to pick it up at verse 9. 18 and 9. We're going to get it, brother. Go ahead and read.
And he spake this parable unto certain which trusted in themselves that they were righteous and despised others. 2 men went up into the temple to pray, one a Pharisee and the other a publican.
Okay, the Pharisee and the publican go up to the temple to pray. The publican is just a tax collector. Go ahead.
The Pharisee stood and prayed thus within himself, God, I thank thee that I am not as other men are, extortioners, unjust, adulterers, or even as this publican. I fast twice in the week. I give tithes of all that I possess.
Okay, so, and we can see Israel within this Pharisee. We can see an example of Israel inside this Pharisee. He said, the Pharisee stood and prayed thus with himself, God, I thank thee that I am not as these men are, extortioners, unjust, adulterers, and even as this publican. I keep the Sabbath day, I eat clean, I'm not going out on Friday nights partying and acting a fool. And, you know, I'm better than this man. I'm better than this cat because he ain't doing none of that. And we can't fall into that mindset. I mean, just because we're in here, we have some knowledge and understanding doesn't mean that we're better than the other man. We are not better. Excuse me. We are not better than the other man. We used to be the other man. That used to be us. But the Lord called us. He opened our eyes, and now we have some understanding. But that doesn't mean we turn our back on the other man. We got to humble ourselves and help the other man get to where we're at. Bring him in here. 13, go ahead.
And the publican, standing afar off, would not lift up so much as his eyes unto heaven, but smote upon his breast, saying, God be merciful to me, a sinner.
And so the Pharisee said, look, that publican, you know, he won't even look, he won't so much as even lift his hand for someone else. And he lifts up his eyes into heaven, and he says, God be merciful to me. That's not a bad thing. He is asking the right person for mercy. He's asking the right person for mercy. And what does Jesus tell him? Verse 14.
I tell you, this man went down to his house justified rather than the other.
The publican went down to his house justified more than the Pharisee. Why is that?
For everyone that exalteth himself shall be abased, and he that humbles himself shall be exalted.
The first shall be last, the last shall be first. It's that plain and simple. You exalt yourself above others, you're going to be abased. You're going to be knocked down low. But he that humbles himself shall be exalted. When? At the right time. At judgment. That's when you will be exalted. But you got to wait on it, Israel. You got to wait on it. You're not going to be kings and priests in these days. Not these immediate days. You got to wait on it. Let's go to 1 Peter 5. 1 Peter 5. We still got some reckoning to do. 1 Peter 5, we're going to pick it up at verse 1. 5 and 1. Get it, brother? Go ahead and...
The elders which are among you I exhort, who am also an elder and a witness of the sufferings of Christ, and also a partaker of the glory that shall be revealed.
He said, the elders which are among you I exhort, who am also an elder and a witness of the sufferings of Christ, and also a partaker of the glory that should be revealed. And we in here, we should exhort or exalt our elders. We should pay attention to our elders. We should pay attention to our seasoned veterans. Those that have been out here, you know, been here and experienced some things. Don't look at me like that. I'm not the seasoned veteran yet. I already see y'all trouble, both of them. Both of them sitting right beside each other too. See, I was thinking about you this morning. I had a verse in here. I took it out because of you. It was the horror about the hoary head. Nope. I'm not even going to give him ammunition. But anyway, the elders which are among you I exhort, who am also an elder and a witness of the sufferings of Christ, and also a partaker of the glory that should be revealed. Verse 2.
Feed the flock of God which is among you.
That's our elders. That's our experienced people's jobs. Feed the flock of God. Help those out. You've been there. You've done that. You have experience. Help those that are younger. And you younger should listen to them. You should take that advice. Keep going.
taking the oversight thereof, not by constraint, but willingly, not for filthy lucre, but of a ready mind.
He said, feed the flock of God which is among you, taking oversight thereof, taking positions of authority, taking leadership roles. He said, but not by constraint. Don't do it by force, but be willing to handle the business of the church. Be willing to handle the job of helping others out. Be willing, and don't do it for money, but of a ready mind. Be willing to do this thing. It's a labor of love. This job is a labor of love. Verse 3.
Neither as being lords over God's heritage, but being ensamples to the flock.
And it says, neither as being lords over God's heritage. And sometimes that's where Israel falls short. And we think because Israel, we're called by his name, that means we are lords over God's heritage, that we're lords over others, that we're lords over other nations. And we shouldn't be that way. It says being examples to the flock. We should be examples to everybody else, not lords over them. We shouldn't desire to make the other nations our servants. We should want to be servants to them. The least should be first. The last should be first, right? He that exalts himself shall be abased. We should want to be examples to them. Show them how we would like to be treated. You don't like being a servant? You don't like being a slave? Then don't tell them the first chance I get, I'm going to make you a slave. Don't be that way. Be an example. Bless them that curse you. Don't let that go far from your mind. Bless them that curse you. Verse 4.
And when the chief shepherd shall appear, ye shall receive a crown of glory that fadeth not away.
And that's what we all are laboring for. And when the chief shepherd shall appear, ye shall receive a crown of glory that fadeth not away. In that due time. You don't get that crown of glory until that due time, until the due season. It's not going to come right now. Verse 5.
Likewise, ye younger, submit yourselves unto the elders.
Oh, there's that word submit, meaning humble yourself. Humble yourself to your elders. Keep going.
Yea, all of you be subject one to another, and be clothed with humility.
Be clothed with what?
Humility.
Boy, I don't like that. Israel don't like that. Be clothed with humility for what?
For God resisteth the proud.
He resisteth the proud. He don't like pride. He will resist you in your pride. That's plain and simple. The Lord resisteth the proud. Keep going.
And giveth grace to the humble.
And giveth grace to who?
To the humble.
To the humble. He gives grace to the humble. He gives life to the humble. He gives life to the humble. Let's go 1 Corinthians 15. 1 Corinthians 15, pick it up at verse 1. 15 and 1. Go ahead.
Moreover, brethren, I declare unto you that the gospel which I preached unto you, which also ye have received, and wherein ye stand, by which also ye are saved, if ye keep in memory what I have preached unto you, unless ye have believed in vain.
So he says, moreover, brethren, I declare unto you the gospel which I preached unto you, which also you have received, and wherein you stand. What gospel did Paul teach you? He preached the God that Jesus came down here in the flesh. He died for our sins, and he was resurrected, and gave us a chance, and gave us hope. That's what Paul preached. That's the gospel that he preached. And he says that you have, which also you have received, and wherein you stand. Talking to these Corinthians, they received it, and now they stand in what the gospel that Paul preached. Verse 2.
By which also ye are saved, if ye keep in memory what I have preached unto you, unless ye have believed in vain. He
said, by which also ye are saved, if you keep in memory what I have preached unto you, unless ye have believed in vain, unless you believed in vain. So if you believe what Paul's preached, if you believe what was written in this book, then you will keep that in memory. And you will live by that. Unless you have believed in vain. Verse 3.
For I delivered unto you first of all that which I have also received, how that Christ died for our sins according to the scriptures,
That's right, keep going.
and that he was buried, and that he rose again the third day according to the
According
scriptures.
to the scriptures, keep going.
And he was seen of Cephas, then of the 12. After that, he was seen of above 500 brethren at once, of whom the greater part remain unto this present, but some are fallen asleep.
That's right. So he's kind of giving a quick rundown. He's saying, you know, Christ came here, he died, he was risen on the third day, and he was seen of Cephas, which is, I believe that's Peter, then of the 12, and he says, he was seen of the 500 brethren all at once, and he's talking about, he says, of whom greater part remain unto this day, but some are fallen. But he's talking about some great men, some great disciples that saw Christ after he resurrected. He's talking about some of the good men, Matthew, Luke, John, all these good, Mark. A lot of these good men saw Christ after he was resurrected. But verse 7.
After that, he was seen of James, then of all the apostles.
Then all the apostles. Come on.
And last of all, he was seen of me also.
Okay, so Paul says, and then last of all, after he was seen of me also. As what?
As one born out of due time.
When Paul saw him, he was as one born out of due time. He was persecuting the church at the time. He wasn't strong in these scriptures and out, living zealously for the Lord like he would become. It was in his time yet. It was like he was a babe in understanding at this time. He was a babe in understanding at this time. But what?
For I am the least of the apostles, that I am not meet to be called an apostle, because I persecuted the church of
He
God.
says, for I am the least of the apostles. Paul just humbled himself before you. He just humbled himself. He said, I was the least of these apostles. He says, matter of fact, I am not meet. He says, I am not worthy to be called an apostle. You see how Paul humbled himself? He said, I don't meet the requirements to be called an apostle because I persecuted the church of God. But verse 10.
But by the grace of God, I am what I am.
He said, but by the grace of God, I am what I am. I am what I am today. By God's mercy and by his grace. And what?
And his grace, which was bestowed upon me, was not in vain.
It was not in vain. That grace was not in vain. You got called in here to learn the word of God. You got called to be servants of the Most High. Don't let that be in vain. Don't let it be in vain. But what?
But I labored more abundantly than they all.
He says, but I labored more abundantly than they all. He said, I went out there and I worked harder than all of them because I did not take this calling in vain. I went out there and I labored abundantly than they all. Yet what?
Yet not I, but the grace of God which is with me.
And he's still giving all this glory to God. He says, not me, not by my own power, but by the power and the grace given to me by God. Now that's a man humbling himself there. That man humbled himself there. Let's go to Deuteronomy 8. The Lord can't use you if you're not willing. He can't use a person with a proudful heart. He can't use them. Verse 8, Deuteronomy 8 and verse 2. 8 and 2, read it.
And thou shalt remember all the way which the Lord thy God led thee these 40 years in the wilderness, to humble thee and to prove thee, to know what was in thine heart, whether thou wouldst keepest his commandments or no.
And when I read this, I said, you know what? That can't be nobody but Israel. It don't take nobody else 40 years to learn a lesson. That can't be nobody else but Israel. He says, thou shalt remember all the way which the Lord thy God led thee these 40 years in the wilderness. Why? To humble thee. It took 40 years to humble Israel? Really? That's y'all people. That's y'all people. And to prove, he said, humble thee and to prove thee, to know what was in thine heart. It takes that long, man. Man, whether thou wouldest keep the commandments or no. 40 years it takes to prove Israel and humble them, so that the Lord would know whether they would keep the commandments or no. That's a sad commentary. Verse 3.
And he humbled thee.
And he humbled thee. The Lord humbled them. And what?
And suffered thee to hunger. And to feed thee with manna, which thou knewest not. Neither did thy fathers know, that he might make thee know that man doeth not live by bread only, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of the Lord doeth man live.
That's right. He said, and he humbled thee and suffered thee to hunger. See, Israel is just not going to humble themselves. Israel has to go through some suffering to be humbled. It doesn't just happen naturally. That's why when you get into this word, the Lord is going to put you through some stuff. You got to be humble. You got to suffer some things. Some drama has to come on you so you can get some understanding, because you're not going to humble yourself on your own. He said, and fed thee with manna, which thou knewest not. They didn't understand what that manna meant. They didn't understand what it was about. Neither did their fathers know. That he might make thee know that man doth not live by bread alone, but what? By every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of the Lord doth man live. You can't do this thing on your own. You can't do this thing by your own power. It takes the Lord. Humble yourselves. Humble yourselves. Skip down verse 16. Read it.
Who fed thee in the wilderness with manna.
He's breaking this thing down. He says, he's letting them in. He's talking to Israel, says, beware that you don't forget these, beware that you don't forget the Lord thy God, brought you all these things. Don't forget the commandments. He said, don't forget who gave you all these things unless your heart be lifted up, unless you become prideful. Unless you become prideful and start to think that you did all these things. You got yourself through the wilderness. No, it wasn't you that got yourself through the wilderness. It was the Lord that got you through. So he's telling them, don't forget who led thee, who fed thee in the wilderness. Keep going.
Which thy fathers do not, that he might humble thee, that he might prove thee, to do thee good at thy latter end.
At when? At thy latter end. So he's humble. He says, I humbled thee, and that he might prove thee to do thee good at that latter end. So the Lord humbles you, and he's chastening you to reward you, to see, to make sure that you can handle it. He's preparing you to be something. He's not just putting you through the paces just to give you some exercise. You're supposed to gain something out of it. It don't do you no good for you brothers who work out and get stronger. Word to you. You do all those things. But it don't do you no good just to go in there and lift weight if you aren't gaining something, right? I mean, if there's nothing, just in there just for show, what good is that? You should benefit from working out. There should be some benefit to it. The Lord is going to put you through some paces for you to gain some knowledge, to understand what it takes to become God's. And it's not just putting you through, some exercises. There's something to be gained from these exercises. There's something to be had from this. There's a lesson to be learned from the chastening. Verse 17.
And thou say in thine heart, my power and might of mine hand have gotten me this wealth.
So you can't say that. These things didn't come by your hand. Keep going.
But thou shalt remember the Lord thy God, for it is he that giveth thee power to get wealth, that he may establish his covenant which he sware unto thy fathers, as it is this day.
That's right. Remember the Lord thy God, for it is he that giveth thee power and get thee wealth. These things are done by his hand, by his blessing. Verse 19.
And it shall be, if thou do all forget the Lord thy God, and walk after other gods, and serve them, and worship them, I testify against you this day that ye shall surely perish.
You shall surely perish. So he's awful conditional again. We're talking about when, God gets in the moods where he gets awful conditional. He's awful choicey. Verse 20.
As the nations which the Lord destroyed before your face, so shall ye perish. because you would not be obedient to the voice of the Lord your God.
He says, as the nations which the Lord destroyeth before your face, so shall ye perish, because ye would not be obedient. You would not humble yourselves unto the voice of the Lord your God. Humble yourselves, brothers and sisters. I don't know how many times I can say it. Verse 2 Chronicles 7. Second Chronicles 7. Take a look at Solomon here. See what Solomon says. 2 Chronicles 7, and we're going to pick this thing up at verse 12. 7 and verse 12. All right, go ahead.
And the Lord appeared to Solomon by night and said unto him, I have heard thy prayer, and I have chosen this place to myself for a house of sacrifice.
Okay.
If I shut up heaven, that there be no rain, or if I command the locusts to devour the land, or if I send pestilence among my people, if my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves, and pray, and seek my face, and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven, and will forgive their sin, and will heal their land.
Okay. Awful conditional. Awful conditional. He said, if I shut up heaven, that there be no rain, or if I command the locusts to devour the land, or if I send pestilence among my people. In other words, he said, when I bring drama, when I bring you some drama, he says that my people which are called by my name shall humble themselves. If you will humble yourself and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways. So you got to do something.
That's right.
You got to do something. It don't just come naturally. You got to humble yourself, turn from your wicked ways, seek the Lord's face, then will I hear from heaven, and I will forgive their sin and will heal their land. Awful conditional. Awful conditional. And he don't capitulate. He don't capitulate to you. It's got to be his way. He gave some clear conditions for how you get that drama up off your head. Verse 15. Or no, that's it. That's it. Proverbs 16. Proverbs 16. The Lord is awful choice. He don't just love everybody like they have you believe. He is awful choice. Proverbs 16, verse 17. Come on.
The highway of the upright is to depart from evil.
The highway of the upright is to depart from evil. Go ahead.
He that keepeth his way preserveth his soul.
He that keepeth his way preserveth his soul. You stay in this word, you walk in this word, that's how you save your life. Turn away from your iniquity and save your soul alive. Keep going.
Pride goeth before destruction.
What? Pride goeth before what?
Destruction.
Uh-oh.
And a haughty spirit before a fall.
Pride goeth before destruction and a haughty spirit before a fall. Pride ain't going to get you nowhere but destruction. Humble yourselves. Verse 19.
Better it is to be of a humble spirit with the lowly than to divide the spoil with the proud.
Better it is to be of a humble spirit with the lowly. Better it is to be of a humble spirit with the poor and sinners that need God, that need help, that need Jesus. It's better to be humble with them than those who have Jesus and are proud. Keep yourselves humble. Proverbs 6. We finished all that. Yeah. Proverbs 6. We'll pick it up in verse 16. Proverbs 6 and 16. All right, go ahead.
These 6 things doeth the Lord hate.
Uh-huh.
Yea, 7 are an abomination.
6 things here the Lord hates, and 7 of them are an abomination. Whew. Go ahead.
A proud look.
A what?
A proud look.
Pride. He hates pride. Or it's an abomination to him. One or the other. Keep going.
A lying tongue.
Uh-huh.
And hands that shed innocent blood.
That's right.
A heart that deviseth wicked imaginations.
Mm-hmm.
Feet that be swift in running to mischief.
Uh-huh.
A false witness that speaketh lies. And he that soweth discord among brethren.
Those things. 7 things there. 7 things we just read, and six of them it says he hates. But 7 of them are an abomination. Now I'll leave it up to you to figure out which one of them here is worse than the others. But I don't think you want to be any of these. It's all bad. I mean, I'll let you, you can argue and fight amongst yourselves which is worse than the other 6, but I don't think you want to be any of these. And namely, the first thing he names is a proud look. Pride. Humble yourselves, brothers and sisters. Humble yourselves. Where are we going now? Ecclesiastes 7. The list of all bad things, you don't want to be even one of those. Don't let it be named even once amongst you. Ecclesiastes 7. Then we're going to pick it up at verse 8. 7 and 8. All right, brother, go ahead.
Better is the end of a thing than the beginning thereof.
Mm-hmm.
And the patient in spirit is better than the proud in spirit. Be not hasty in thy spirit to be angry, for anger resteth in the bosom of fools.
That's right. He says, better is the end of a thing than the beginning thereof. When they start a race, nobody celebrates the beginning of the race. The celebration comes at the end.
That's right.
Then when they start the Super Bowl, they don't celebrate the kickoff. The Super Bowl party comes afterwards.
That's right.
Right? So the ending of a thing is better than the beginning. He says, and the patient in spirit is better than the proud in spirit. The patient in spirit. Those that humble themselves and they wait on this word. They wait on this life. They wait. It's better than the proud in spirit. Humble yourselves. Finish the race. Finish the race first. And then get that, then be exalted. Then be exalted. Be not hasty in thy spirit to be angry. Don't get mad too quick. Don't get mad too quick. For anger resteth in the bosom of fools. Anger resteth in the bosom of fools. So don't do no good to be getting angry. Just let it go. Just let it go. You can't do nothing about it. Just let it go. Anger rests in the bosom of fools. And I don't desire to be called no fool. Proverbs 14. Proverbs 14, 17. 14 and 17. All right, let's go ahead and read.
He that is soon angry dealeth foolishly, and a man of wicked devices is hated.
It says, he that is soon angry dealeth foolishly. Because you get angry and you don't think. You stop thinking. You act out of foolishness. So don't be so quick to be angry. He said, and a man of wicked devices is hated. And somebody that all the time is doing wicked and finding, ways to get back at people is hated. Nobody likes that person. Verse 29. 29. Go ahead.
He that is slow to wrath is of great understanding, but he that is hasty of spirit exalteth folly.
He that is slow to wrath, slow to get angry is of great understanding, but he that is hasty of spirit exalteth folly. You just excel in folly. When you get angry too fast, you just exalt in folly. He that is slow to wrath is of great understanding. And it takes time. That takes some time. You know, I didn't just overnight learn to, you know, cool my jets when I got angry. That takes some time. Now you can't hardly make me mad. Because I don't care nothing about what you talking about. You just go on, miss me with that. I ain't get mad about nothing you got to say. Nope. Can't push my buttons. Proverbs 31. He said that he that is slow to wrath is a great understanding. I think I missed something here.
That was big jump. That look between 17 and 29.
I don't think I wanted to go to Proverbs 31. Oh, yeah. Go back to 14. I left out a verse. I knew something was missing. Verse Proverbs 14 and verse let's see. Pick it up at verse 30. Pick it up at verse 34. Read 34 and 35. Proverbs 14, verse 34 and 35. Go ahead.
Righteousness exalteth the nation, but sin is a reproach to any people.
That's right. Righteousness exalteth the nation. Righteousness lift up any nation. Any nation that is living and doing right is going to be lifted up. Got nowhere to go but up. But sin is a reproach to any people. When somebody sins, it looks bad. One of us gets caught doing some wrong, it looks bad on all of us. Verse 35.
The king's favor is toward a wise servant, but his wrath is against him that causeth shame.
It says the king's favor is toward a wise servant. His favor is going to be toward somebody who's doing things the right way. Isn't that common sense? He says, but his wrath is against him that causes shame. Somebody's going out there and doing something to his name, it causes him shame. We're talking about the Lord in Israel here. If you're a wise servant and you're out there doing things, you are looked upon with favor. But if you take his name in vain, you put him to shame. You put him to shame. Now this translates also into a marriage, and to the husband and the wife. Proverbs 31. Remember something, wives. Proverbs 31. Proverbs 31, and go to verse 26. 31 and 26. Read that.
She opened her mouth with wisdom.
She openeth her mouth with what?
Wisdom.
With wisdom. And what did verse 35 just tell us? The king's favor is toward a wise servant. Somebody who is dealing wisely. You want to please the Lord, then you deal wisely. You want to please your husband, then you open your mouth with wisdom. She openeth her mouth with wisdom. And what?
And in her tongue is the law of kindness.
And in her tongue is the law of kindness. How can you go wrong with that? You cannot go wrong with that, sisters. You want your husbands to deal with you according to knowledge? Be this. I hear you sisters all the time talking about the virtuous woman. This is what this chapter is, right? You want the king to deal with you with favor? Then be a wise servant. She openeth her mouth with wisdom. Skip to verse 30 and read it.
Favor is deceitful, and beauty is vain.
But what?
But a woman that feareth the Lord, she shall be praised.
But she shall be praised. A woman that feareth the Lord, she shall be praised. That's how you get praise and honor and respect from your husband, sisters. Fear the Lord, and all the rest will fall. All the rest of that will fall. James 1. James 1. James 1, and we're going to pick it up at verse 1. No, 19. James 1 and 19, my bad. 1 and 19. All right, brother, get it.
Wherefore, my beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath.
Now, how hard is that? Let every man. I don't see once again, I don't see no affidavit here, right? There's no asterisk. Let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak. That means keep your ears open, your mouth shut. Yeah. Slow to wrath, slow to get angry. These are attributes that everybody who is serving the Most High should have. For what?
For the wrath of man worketh not the righteousness
your
of God.
Your anger and your wrath does not work the righteousness of God. No, it doesn't. It does not work the righteousness of God. So be slow, be swift to hear, slow to speak, and slow to wrath. Verse 21.
Wherefore lay apart all filthiness and superfluity of naughtiness, and receive with meekness the engrafted word, which is able to save your souls.
That's right. He says, wherefore lay apart all filthiness and superfluity of naughtiness, and receive with what? With meekness. Now, what was the definition, y'all? Who remembers the definition of meek we went through last time? What was it? Come on now, y'all got better memories than me.
Enduring injury without resentment.
There we go. Enduring injury without resentment. So can we apply that to that? Yeah. And receive with meekness. Endure injury without resentment, the engrafted word, which is able to save your souls. Endure injury with he says, and this is able to save your soul.
Here's the definition of split.
What? verse 22.
But be ye doers of the word, and not hearers only, deceiving your own selves.
Be ye doers of the word, and not hearers only, deceiving your own selves. It don't do you no good to sit around and portray yourself as a servant of the Most High if you aren't doing the work. You're only deceiving yourself. You're only deceiving yourself. And that it's not just when you come here when you're serving the Lord. It's when you're at home and nobody else can see. You got to be doing right there as well. You got to be doers of the word when nobody else sees as well. It's I'm sure my grandfather wasn't the first one to tell me this. I'm sure it's a saying that probably, goes back into the ancients. But he always told me, he says, doing the right thing is doing, you're always do the right thing even when nobody is looking. Right? Isn't it having character? Having character is doing the right thing when nobody else is looking. Integrity. But the thing is, there is somebody looking. Right. The Most High is looking. And if you're not being a doer of the word, what does it say? You're only deceiving your own selves. Verse 23.
For if any be a hearer of the word, and not a doer, he is like unto a man beholding his natural face in the glass. For he beholdeth himself, and goeth his way, and straightway forgetteth the manner of man he was.
That's right.
But whoso looketh to the perfect law of liberty, and continueth therein, he being not a forgetful hearer, but a doer of the work, this man shall be blessed in his deed.
Oh, that's right. He said, but whoso looketh into the perfect law of liberty, the perfect law of freedom. That's what this book is. That's what this book does. It gives you freedom. Freedom from what? Freedom from death. That second death. This book will deliver you from that second death. It is the perfect law of liberty. And continuing therein, he being not forgetful hearer, but what? A doer of the work. So you got some work to do. You got some works to do. This man shall be blessed in his deed. This man shall be blessed in his works. That's what he's telling you. Verse 26.
If any man among you seem to be religious, and bridleth not his tongue, but deceiveth his own heart, this man's religion is vain.
James must have been bothered by the same things I am. That tongue business, that bothers me, man. People come talking to me, especially supposed to be, servants of the Most High, and they start that cursing and all that filthy talking. That bothers me. I'm sorry, but it just bothers me. He said, if any man among you seem to be religious, and bridleth not his tongue, but deceiveth his own heart, this man's religion is vain. It's for nothing. And that's what it looks like to others when you're out there filthy talking and talking crazy. It looks like your religion is vain. And I'm trying to do everything I can not to put what we stand for in a bad light to anybody. I take that serious. Verse 27.
Pure religion and undefiled before God and the Father is this: to visit the fatherless and the widows in their affliction, and to keep himself unspotted from the world.
Unspotted from the world. Not to be like everybody else. Everybody else in this world will tell you, it's all about you. It's all about you. Be you. Do you. Be pride. Have pride in yourself. This world will have you thinking that. Take care of yourself. Yourself first. That's all I hear. And all that is contrary to what I've been reading today.
It's a selfish world.
It's a selfish world. It is. It really is. 1 Corinthians 13. It's a twisted, messed up world. And the way things are set up, it makes it hard for a person to be courteous to others. People are so funky these days, you can't even hardly help them. I saw a cat just the other day. He was doing a whole lot of extra work, and I wanted to go out there and tell him, you don't have to do it this way, you could do it that way. But just by the way he was looking at me when I started to say something to him, I could tell, I can't say nothing to him. Of course, he's Israel. Can't tell him nothing. I knew as soon as I walked up to him, trying to tell him something, I've been doing this for years. I know how to do this. All right, okay. But you don't have to put 10 of those in there. You only need one. I can't tell people some things, so all right. Go and do that extra work, Israel. How about it? Where we at? 1 Corinthians 13, verse 4. Read it.
Charity suffereth long, and is kind. Charity envieth not. Charity vaunteth not itself, is not puffed up, doeth not behave itself unseemly, seeketh not her own, is not easily provoked, thinking no evil.
That's right. He said, charity suffereth long and is kind. Charity envieth not. Charity vaunteth not itself and is not puffed up. Charity, when you're being charitable, you don't do it with pride. And you don't exhibit pride as you're being charitable. Does not behave itself unseemly, seeketh not her own. It is not easily provoked, thinking no evil. You're doing these things to help somebody else out without expecting some kind of retribution. Verse 6.
Rejoiceth not in iniquity, but rejoiceth in the truth.
Mm-hmm. Okay, skip down verse 11. Something wrote there? It's kind of hot up here, sorry.
Verse 11. When I was a child, I spake as a child.
Mm-hmm.
I understood as a child. I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things.
That's right. When I was a child, I spake as a child. I understood as a child, and I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away those childish things. That's only common sense. You grow up, you act like a grown-up. It's that plain and simple. You're an adult, act like one. Verse 12.
For now we see through a glass darkly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then shall I know, even also as I am known.
He said, for now we see through a glass, darkly, but then face to face. So he's talking about looking through a mirror. He says, now I'm grown, I can look through a mirror and I can see what others see. He says, now I know in part, but then shall I know even as also I am known. So I can look in the mirror and I can see what everybody else sees. And is that what I want people to see? I want people to see a servant of the Most High. So look in that mirror and examine yourself. What is it everybody sees? Am I projecting what I want people to see? You can't fool. I mean, you can fool most people, but when you look in that mirror, you know what you see. You know who you're looking at, and you know what you're about. Did we finish that?
Yes, sir.
All right. Job. Job 36. Job 36, and we'll pick it up at verse 7. We got two more after this. Job 36 and verse 7. All right, let's go ahead.
He withdraweth not his eyes from the righteous, but with kings are they on the throne. Yea, he do establish them forever, and they are exalted.
He says, the Lord withdraweth not his eyes from the righteous, but with kings are they on the throne. Yea, he doth establish them forever, and they are exalted. The Lord is the one exalted. Keep going.
And if they be bound in fetters, and be holden in cords of affliction, then he showeth them their work, and their transgressions that they have exceeded.
Keep going.
He opened also their ear to the discipline, and commanded that they return from iniquity.
That's right. So what he's saying is, he said, and if they be bound in fetters and be holden in cords of affliction, In other words, when you start receiving knocks, he wants you to open your ears. When you start receiving may nots, he wants you to open your ears and get some understanding. What? May nots? You don't know what may nots are? So that's some may nots. My grandma used to say, when somebody walks you upside the head, you get a knot on your head. You see, sometimes that knot will rise, or sometimes it'll just knot. That's a may knot. She said may rise or may not. So, called may knots. So now when you're getting may knots, he says, open your ears. He said, he openeth also their ears to discipline, and commanded that they turn from iniquity. So when you're getting them may nots, turn from your iniquity. That's what he's telling you. Verse 11.
If they obey and serve him, they shall spend their days in prosperity, and their years in pleasures.
That's a simple concept, right? That's simple. Turn from your iniquity. If they obey and serve him, they shall spend their days in prosperity and their years in pleasure. That's simple. But what?
But if they obey not, they shall perish by the sword, and they shall die without knowledge.
Now, see, you should feel threatened. The Lord just threatened you. Again, he said, but if they obey not, they shall perish by the sword, and they shall die without knowledge. That's simple and direct. If you don't do what I say, I'm going to get you. That's a threat. That is a direct threat. Verse 13.
But the hypocrites in heart heap up wrath. They cry not when he bindeth them. They die in youth, and their life is among the unclean.
So don't be a hypocrite. If you say you're living for the Lord, then live for the Lord. If not, then don't. Like Elijah said when he was talking to him, he says, "How long halt ye between two opinions? If the Lord be God, then serve him. If Baal, then serve him." You can't be wishy-washy. It ain't going to be one or the other. It's going to be one or the other. You're going to serve the Lord or you're not. You can't be a hypocrite. He says they die in youth, and their life is among the unclean. Verse 15.
He delivereth the poor in his affliction, and openeth their ears in oppression.
That's right. Delivereth the poor in his affliction and openeth their ears in oppression. Matthew 7. Matthew 7. We got to learn, brothers and sisters, to humble ourselves before God and men. 7 and 1. Matthew 7 and verse 1. Get it.
Judge not, that ye be not judged. For with what judgment ye judge, ye shall be judged. And with what measure ye met, it shall be measured to you again.
That's right.
And why beholdest thou the mote that is in thy brother's eye, but considerest not the beam that is in thine own eye?
And this, it's like Israel, we read this, and it's like he didn't just say what he said. It's like it's just some of these things just go, he didn't mean that. I didn't. Really? I mean, judge not that ye be judged. Now he's not, like we always talk about, you can judge a thief to be a thief. You see a man steal something, that's what he is, he's a thief. But you can't judge him to condemnation. You call him as you see him. A chicken is a chicken. He said, for with what judgment ye judge, ye shall be judged. And with what measure ye meet, it shall be measured to you again. And why beholdest the mote that is in thy brother's eyes, but considerest not the beam that is in thine own eye? And we are bad about that. We're bad about that. We looking at somebody else and pointing the finger, saying, "You did this and you did that, and you're a dirty so and so, and you're no good and all that." But we forget we got motes in our own eyes. We got our own problems. We done some dirt too. It ain't always about the other man's dirt. You got some dirt too. Your garments are not white. My garments are not white. I can't afford to point the finger at nobody. I can't judge you because I don't want to be judged. Not like that. I need some righteous judgment. Where you at? Verse 4.
Or how wilt thou say to thy brother, let me pull out the mote out of thine eye, and behold, a beam is in thine own eye?
And you got to be in the right position. You can't help somebody else pull the beam out of their eye. You got a beam in your own eye. You got to clean yourself up. Before you start pointing the finger at somebody else, clean yourself up. Wash your own garments. Help one another. Help one another. Don't be so quick to point fingers. Don't be so quick to judge one another. Arguing and bickering amongst each other, this is most common in husband and wife situations. Bickering and arguing one another, talking about what the other person does when both of you have some dirt. Both of you are dirty. Go wash your garments. And when you become perfectly white, then you can stand up with one another. And maybe you might have an argument. But until both of you are clean, you got to let it go. You got to let that wrath go. Verse 5.
Thou hypocrite, first cast out the beam out of thine own eye. Then shalt thou see clearly to cast out the mote out of thy brother's eye.
So, hypocrite, he says, first cast out the beam out of thine own eye, and then shalt thou see clearly. Thou shalt see clearly to cast out of thy brother's eye. So clean yourself up. Clean yourself. And once you clean yourself up, you probably won't. At that point, you probably won't even care what the argument was about. You get past all that, you won't even care. Then these things will take care of themselves because it's just not important. Philippians 2 and 12. Last place. All this bickering and fighting with one another, just let it go. Worried about what somebody else did, you got to worry about yourself. Get yourself clean, because at the end of the day, it's all about this. Philippians 2 and 12. Read it.
Wherefore, my beloved, as ye have always obeyed, not as in my presence only, but now much more in my absence, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling.
Work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. And I hope you got some understanding in these things.